Alright boys, gather up. Obviously we all know that Maus is the most superior tank ever built, but it might still be interesting to see other armored vehicles. What do you think? I think it's a pretty good idea. So, let's go. So, here we are at Parola Armour Museum in Finland. They give this idea of how to go around the museum area, but I do things my way, the Maus way, which means most likely more complicated and most definitely slower way. Let's go see some tanks. When you step in, the first tank right in front of you is the Vickers Garden Lloyd Mark VI, a light reconnaissance tank. And right next to it is the Vickers 6-ton tank. This one has a Swedish 37mm anti-tank gun. The USSR would manufacture this tank under a license as a T-26, as seen here, and it would have 45mm gun by then. And of course there's a Renault FD-17. What I found interesting is this self-propelled gun version with rear-facing gun, which looks way more interesting than the BS we have in World of Tanks. Behind the FD-17 we have two T-34s. Noticeable thing about this early one is the extra periscopes for the driver to the both sides and muzzle brake for the main gun. In the same hall we also have a couple armored cars, BA-20M and BA-10. Both are captured Soviet vehicles. Of course there are Sturmgeschütz dry assault guns, also known as Stug 3s. This one has been opened up, so it's easier to look inside. And when I said opened up, I really meant it. It's not quite in the drivable condition, if you can believe it. Here we have Landsverk Anti-2. Finland got 6 of these and they dropped 11 Soviet planes without suffering any own losses. Here's a cabinet full of anti-tank rifles, different kinds of. Some larger scale models in 1/6 scale. The first one was a Jeep. Here we have the T-26 and a Stug 3. Amazing work. And more scale models. Now in the more usual 1/35 scale. Unfortunately, no Maus here, even though there is Porsche's Tiger 2 proposal. More complete dioramas down here. There's also one tractor in the hall, the McCormick T6, shown here. And that's all the vehicles in the first exhibition hall. We should continue forwards. A couple vehicles sitting here in the rain. Humber Pig, a British lorry, Daimler Ferret, a British reconnaissance car, and the Soviet ZSU-57-2, an anti-aircraft vehicle. time for more modern vehicles, like this BMP-1 and Leopard 2 main battle tank, which still has the German camouflage pattern. Let's have a closer look at the Leopard 2. This is the vehicle type I spent most of my military service with. Most of that was with the A4 version, but I also was briefly in the A6. Here's the loader side, and there's the turret ammo rack with the blast door half open. There is a removable wall between the gun breech and the commander's position. On the other side here we have commander's position, and in front of him the gunner's position. T-72, you are next. Slightly larger gun caliber, 125mm compared to the Leopard 2's 120mm. Here's T-72's engine deck. Shut up, T-72, I'm allowed to be here. Very noticeable is the shell ejection port, marked with yellow and black. Here's a training turret for BMP-1. Remember kids, follow the rules. Alright, let's climb into this APC, which is Sisu XA180 model. Quite roomy now that I'm all alone and nobody there. Oh yeah, we are surrounded by tanks. There's a cool T-55 here. What you mean what happened? Nothing happened. Let's move on. Let's look at this SPG. This one is the Soviet 2S1 armored self-propelled gun. It has 122mm main gun with firing range about 50 kilometers. This one is built on the MTLB chassis, and over 10,000 of these were produced. Hey, it's T-54. Pretty impressive tank which was put into service right after World War II. Here's the front armor and the effects of sloping. It has cast spherical turret, which became quite usual for the Soviet armor. The early T-54s had a hull machine gun, but I think they got rid of that at some point. Also, I knew the Soviet tankers were short, but I didn't expect them to be this extreme. Here it's pretty clear that the bottom armor of 20mm already starts in the lower parts of the side armor. At least in World of Tanks, the whole side armor is 80mm. I will check it out later if that's in the case of War Thunder. Here's the inside of the turret. The gradient of the armor thickness is quite visible here. more Finnish ABCs. And here's another. Thanks, lad. I don't know how I could have done this without your input. Some radios with lots of buttons and knobs, surprisingly behind a glass cover. A training module for driver's compartment, probably for one of the APCs. And couple engines. The tools and spare parts carried by the vehicle. That would be everything in the second exhibition hall. So let's make our way to the outdoor museum next. Here's a T-55 turret used as a coastal gun. Next a T-72 turret.
The gunner is wounded. He'll have a hard time hitting anything.
Which have received some hits. It looked way more rougher from outside, but of course I forgot to film the view from the the gunner's hatch. So here's a photo from 2013. T-54 turret, in the other hand, is nearly not as durable. This one looks like a cheese. Here's the coastal gun again. This rock was used as an anti-tank obstacle. Engine hall. Engines are pretty important for the tanks. They enable all the vroom actions, but otherwise than that, I can't tell too much about them. According to New York Times article from April 28, 1992, 1 horsepower engine equals roughly 495,000 mouse power engine. I'm not sure is this a barbecue grill or what, but it looks pretty neat. On this side we got transmissions. This one is Waits or Whites, not sure about the pronunciation, tank carriage for the Renault FT70s. Next to it are a bunch of Vickers 6-tonners and T26s. Alongside with the PT series, T26s form pretty major part of the Soviet pre-4 tank fleet. Again, compared to the PT tanks, T26 was more stable firing platform. The PT tanks would rock a lot when accelerating and braking. This T26 still has the battle damage and the original Soviet markings. Here's T60, which was to replace the outdated T30 and T40 tanks. It's supposed to have 20mm belt-fed cannon, but none of those guns have survived till this day, so it has been replaced by 37mm gun. And here's its bigger brother T70 without any gun. T50 was another attempt to improve the Soviet light tank designs. This particular one has 14mm of additional armor in the front hull and turret sides, but due to high production costs, complex design and numerous technical difficulties, only small number of series were produced. Next to the T50 we got another rarity, T28. Despite over 500 of these things produced, only 3 are remaining today. 1 is in Russia and 2 are here in Finland. The Finns nicknamed the tank as the mail wagon because one of the tanks that were captured was carrying plenty of postcards and other mail. Here's my favorite KV-1 variant, the KV-1E, which has additional 25 and 30mm thick armor plates to the turret sides and fronts, as well as the hull. Next to it is another KV-1. This one is the model 1942. There's a hit mark from 85mm gun from T-34 in the front glasses. The front turret also seems to have received some hits. Then we have a couple of T-34 76s. I think both are 1943 versions, but this early one doesn't have commander's cupola yet. And here's T-34-85 with bigger gun and 3-man turret. And amazing casting qualities of the turret. Oh, we got a big boy here. ISU 152. You can easily fit a fist into its 152mm main cannon. Nah, can't see inside. I should have brought my torch. Here's a tank from the PT series converted into a self-propelled gun and redesignated as PT-42. Despite of having 114mm main cannon and HES rounds, the armor piercing capabilities were almost zero. Now something that can penetrate armor. We got more Stuk 3s. This Stuk over here still has some Zimerit coating remaining. And then we have the 7.5cm gun in a turret, in the form of Panzer IV-J. Now, this version had some features removed, like the powered turret drivers and commander's target indicator. Here's a Sherman. Finland never operated Shermans, and the Soviet Union didn't use their Shermans on the Finnish front. So this Sherman here got through the exchange program from the Federal Republic of Germany in '89. A lonely T-26. Here's a dugout, a simple building for resting and cover for the elements between the battles. This would be part of the trench system. Here's the German 7.5cm gun in its towed form. Another one is located here in the upper position. That's a lot of kill marks. People like trains, so here's an armored train for you. This one is in its late war anti-aircraft configuration, but it still has some artillery pieces on it. TK3 freight locomotive by Locomoworks. The wartime version would have armor plates to its side. Hey, there's enough light to see inside. To the post-war vehicles. First one is a British Comet Mark I Model P. Next to it is a Charioteer Mark VII, one of the first vehicles in the Finnish service that had fume extractor, and T-72 with mine clearing device. An empty spot. Man, do I wish I had taken photo of the info plaque, since I don't remember what this one is. Hey, post-production mouse here. I even dug out the guidebook. Nope, the vehicle wasn't there either, so if you know what that is, let me know in the comments below. A pre-war armored car with 2 machine guns, calibers 7.62 and 13.2. Patria AMV, standing for Armored Modular Vehicle. Here same vehicle, but armed with twin 120mm mortars. Next to it, PTR-60 and PTR-80, Soviet APCs. I'm not an expert on wheeled vehicles, but I'd say the tire pressure is a bit low. That concludes my tour. Tanks are pretty cool, don't you think? Bye!